Hello and welcome to I've been really looking forward to this. It's another episode of David's Divergent Discussion, and I'm actually host from the especially interesting podcast that we do at Academy. It's the one and only Tigger Pritchard.
Oh, David, man, you killed me. I'm still. Hey, first of all, anything with you is just lush. You know that. For those of you that are watching, we are going to clip this because I said to David, I said, obviously, we often go on for several hours, so we're clipping this at midnight, if that's all right. No, we won't be as long as midnight, but we have been sometimes, haven't we? Yeah. But it's an honor to be here. I love your work. I love what you do. I love what you're doing now as well. It's superb, and it's an absolutely honor to be a guest of yours on here, and I'm so looking forward to this.
Yeah, and it's fantastic. And we're going to be talking about the late discovery journey today. So, we're going to be getting into the ups and downs of being an autistic person. We'll start the way we always start with a brief audio description. So, I am a white Mediterranean male presenting person in their mid 30s. I'm sat next to my famously rickety bookcase, wearing a black vest top with thick rimmed purpley grey glasses, a lip piercing, an ear tunnel, shaved head, and a beard. And also, there's my map of Middle Earth just there, because you have to have a map of Middle Earth. It's the law. And Tigger, do you want to give a brief audio description?
Thank you. I am a white cis male with very close shaven head and stubble, who is in his late 50s, which is scary to say. Green sweat top. I'm in my Auti den, which is my outdoor office, which I'm very lucky to have. There's various things around me. There's a sphere of the northern and southern hemisphere over there. There's a Hubble Deep Field picture behind me, and various other things as well. I am very, very looking forward to this.
I could probably do a whole podcast episode just about the things you've got around your Auti den, to be honest. Like the deep field picture, that's one of my favorites.
And to another friend of ours, I've got Star Trek models up there.
Oh
Yeah. I've got. Would you believe we've already gone off on a tangent again?
yeah, but we
Let's
embrace
do
the
it.
tangents here.
Right. Embrace the tangent. So thanks to a dear friend of mine called Ian, I've got some stuff from some Jerry Anderson TV shows of the 70s. Before you were born. I've got some Enterprises. I've got a replica phaser from Star Trek: The Original Series. I've got a shuttlecraft, and it goes on, and some Star Wars stuff as well. So this is my Auti den. This has become intrinsically one of the biggest elements I've got to support my artistic self and to self-regulate and everything. We may come to that later on.
Yeah, because actually, I did write a blog post a few weeks ago about the autistic tendency to nest.
Yeah.
I specifically spoke about it from my autistic ADHD ness. But I think we have that tendency to nest, don't we? We curate our spaces very particularly.
Well, to be honest,
and
the only other person that was allowed in here is Bluebell, Mrs. Pebbles' daughter. Mrs. Pebbles has gone, sadly. But Bluey comes in here. I don't like anybody else coming in, really, because it's my space. And because then I know things aren't moved. And it is totally my nest. It is totally nesting here. And it's got a few bits of extra furniture at the moment. We're moving things around in the house. But it's one of the most precious things at this moment in time because I can just be autistic Tigger here, which is so, so important for me at this moment in time.
So, speaking of autistic Tigger, about your discovery journey, because we're here to talk about the late discovery journey, and I consider myself to be late discovered, but I discovered it in my mid-20s. Really, that was when I got my diagnosis. That was when I came to terms with being autistic, even though I'd had people saying it my entire life. It wasn't really till my mid-20s that it came home for me. But I think for you, it was a bit later on in life, wasn't it? Because
in the past, it was during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So it's
so
that
do you want to tell us
recent.
a bit about that?
So it's what's really interesting is my chosen career has been working with individuals who are neurodivergent. Some that have needed a huge amount of support, some that I've just worked with in education environments and so on. And I did that because I felt safe, because I felt that's where I belonged. I felt that's why I just felt good there. Now I know why. Yeah. And so for 10 years ago, I went freelance as a trainer. 10 years ago this year, and most of my work was around autism, communication, behaviour. The words I used a lot then. I'm a Macton tutor, so tons of Macton stuff and symbols, and boards with widget and board maker and Macton, PEC, so on and so forth. All that's what I did, and lots of other stuff over the decades. So for for 20 years of my life, I worked with neurodivergent individuals in the environment that I loved. Be it care, provision, or teaching. I just felt I fitted in there. And it's interesting that once I started to have thoughts about, I'd realised that many people years ago just thought I was, and it never occurred to me. But like most of them, I'd always felt different. I'd have moments in my life where I couldn't stand seeing people, and I really wouldn't go out. I'd lock myself away. I remember one period people used to come with the hermit. Then I have moments in time when I'm at every single party and I'm gregarious and I'm seeing people, and I'd spend days afterwards recharging, let's say. So I always felt different, always felt out of place, from school, home, school, education, early years, through to my 30s. Everything always felt just out of place. But it never occurred to me that I was neurodivergent, even though I would get up and teach old school, though. Let's be honest here about the triad of impairment, things like that. That's what I did like 15 years ago and stuff. Yeah. And I think it was, as I've got older, I think there's been a much more, for me, a much more accessible understanding of what it means to be neurodivergent. I think that started to tick little bits in my brain where I thought, oh, okay, okay. Or I'd give talks and I go, well, this is, I'm not autistic, but I have real issues with loud noises, and I have real issues with sudden changes. And people in the audience, I think, thought I was having a joke. People I think thought that. And when I finally, it was a pandemic. I'd felt pressured. I'd had to move in with an awesome family. I really felt like I didn't fit in. I had lots of issues, lots of problems, my stress levels, my anxiety. And then I was looking back over my life, and so many burnouts and so many mental health issues and so many relationship issues and on and on and on. So many employment issues. And then it just literally, I did a video called, I think, On This Spot, which is still on YouTube. And I just literally was having a cup of coffee in the back garden where we were living at the time. And it's like ping. And I just went, oh my God, you're autistic. And it wasn't in some ways, I think it was a slow journey, but a slow journey going on in the background. And all of a sudden it just went boom. And all of a sudden I just went, but of course you are. And it seemed to make utter sense. I then contacted people that had known me for years, people that known me for decades, during that first initial kind of understanding. And a lot of people went, yeah, we always, we've known you're autistic for decades. We just thought you didn't talk about it. Other people went, oh, you used to talk about it years ago. Do you remember? I go, no, I don't. I don't remember talking about it. And it all just came out. So for me, possibly unconsciously, the journey had been across decades. But consciously, the journey seemed to me to be across weeks during the pandemic, when I was forced to exist in a certain way and I could not do it. And the stress from it and the agony from it was incredible. The sensory overload, the pressures of interaction in a particular space and so on, the destruction of all my routines and everything that I craved for, which I just thought was me. Just made me realize, and like most, and I mean, there's obviously a lot goes on. We'll explore that tonight very much so. But that first moment of having that cup of coffee, which I adore, and smelling that coffee and holding the cup and sitting in the back garden, and it literally was like, but of course you are. It was like part of me went, you are, you just didn't know, did you? It's like having this conversation in my brain, and I went, wow. And then, as the saying goes, I kind of, when they say that something, your life flashes before your eyes or something, yeah? Like 50 years of my life plus flashed before our eyes. And all of a sudden I went, yes, 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 yes. Everything suddenly fell into place, from my psychotic behavior, my need for routines, my sensory overload, my social kind of like routines, structures and ins and outs. And at one point it was liberating, yet petrifying at the same time. But there was a moment of clarity, which was beautiful, and then the journey starts. You know what I mean? Then the journey starts of understanding and looking at myself and learning from wonderful people like you. Um, and that's just the journey I'm still on and will be for a long time, I think.
That's really quite the journey, though. That's quite the start of a journey. It's like the prelude to something Lord of the Rings esque in my mind, which is so appropriate because I know how much you love Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, we have spoken about Lord of the Rings for a bit, haven't we?
Yeah,
And
we
it
did a
is,
whole
isn't it?
podcast episode
I
on
know
it.
there's an especially interested out there in Lord of the Rings. Um, it was just I think what one of the things that hit me first of all was the professional Tigger, as I call him. And the professional Tigger was like, yeah, you do this for a living, and you didn't know, right? There is some you're really then a useless. So one of my first reaction was there was the euphoria and realizing that 5 decades of my life made sense, or 5 plus decades. Um, but then there was also the, what you you teach, you raise understanding, and yet you didn't know. But honestly, the amount of people that know me for decades, they went, we always knew. And I'm like, I didn't, or did I? And I don't know about these. I have what I call pockets of I call my brain a Swiss cheese brain. So some of the holes where I have no idea what was going on, and other ones are packed with information and intensity and so on. So I call myself a Swiss cheese brain. So the conversations people said I had, and I cannot remember, especially about being autistic, I can't remember them. People said, "We had this conversation." I don't. And as I say, then the next bit, and there's the euphoria. Then there's the God. You're a useless professional, if that's the case. And that bubbled for a while, and now I just realise it's part of that initial journey for me as an elder neurodivergent individual, older that I was on really.
And I think one of the things that we always have to, it's really important to talk about this, is that, yeah, there's that really euphoric moment of I'm autistic, everything makes sense. Then there's that moment of here is everything in my life I've been told up to this point about what being autistic means, and none of it is particularly nice.
No,
And then you go on a journey where you go, wow, I've not just been thinking about myself in a really horrible way, but actually been pretty ableist towards because that's
oh,
what society told me was true. And then there's that moment where you find the autistic. I stand by this. People need to be directed to the autistic community. If you get a diagnosis, if it's even being questioned for you, the first thing they should do is direct you to other autistic people. And you have this moment where it's like, wow, okay, so here's what all the experts in inverted commas have told me about me up to this point, and here is the truth. And these two things are wildly different. And you go through this moment of like, am I? Should I be listening to these people or should I not? And I'd like to really highlight this comment from Tanya Adkin.
I've just seen it. It's brilliant. It makes me
Yeah,
feel quite good.
yeah, almost like
Tanya, hi.
becoming an
It's the
infant.
age thing as well, yeah. So
Yeah,
thank you. That makes me
and
feel good.
and Tanya says, almost like becoming an infant again in adulthood, baby Autie. And it's true. This is what it's
It is
like.
true.
It's like starting your life all over again because you have to relearn everything. You know, it's
I think
it it's intense.
I think part of the issue for me was that I'd been now just let me get this straight here. Almost 58, yeah. Oh no, I am 58. It's not almost 58. I am 58. Oh man. So I was around with a lot of individuals whose understanding of autism is very, very different to my understanding of being autistic now, thankfully. So I've been on a very long journey over decades. Certain things I used to teach and practice are not what I do now in any shape or form. So I was around in the late 80s where lots of complex stuff was going on. I won't go into it, so I don't want to have any trigger warnings on this, so to speak. Yeah, but lots of stuff. But so one thing you said, my mental health, my self worth, my identity, my respect, everything was made so much better because of my neurokin, because of you and Chloe and others that I've met along the journey. Yeah, and now the neurokin I've got in Cornwall, it's made that in itself single-handedly was better than any therapist I would have been to, any book I would have read. There are some good books out. But the early connection with you and others transformed the positiveness about my autistic self. And if I hadn't, and I say to everybody, you've got to find your Neurokin, you've got to find your tribe quickly, because a lot of the stuff that's out there, as you and I know, is fit in, become more normal, and so on, yeah, and damages us so intensely and incredibly. So I reiterate what you said: finding my Neurokin, finding you and others transformed, and really almost not quite eliminated the the aspect of my journey that would have been really painful, and that internal ableism, which is still there, which had been packed into me from so many different experiences, was well, the best defense is Neurokin. Simple, 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 and it made such a difference to who I was and who I am now.
Yeah, and Anthony Glancy says, I was diagnosed with ADHD a year ago and also scored highly for autism. I'm currently waiting for my assessment, but it has been such a massive ding moment in my life. And it really is, isn't it? It's like a light bulb comes on.
It is, and I think it's just, and I think it's, if I may, I think it's fair to say I have family members who are now travelling down the journey, and which reinforces even more. Yeah, you are, mate, and which is beautiful in many ways. And I think it is that ding, but you know what? It's that's why I mean, as I'm saying, which you reiterated, please, anybody on this part of the journey where the ding is really recent, find your Neurokin, find Academy, find David, find others that know what they're doing, because there are so many people out there that don't, and the damage they can do to your soul, to your artistic identity is huge. And I am really lucky that I found the people that I did as a sprightly, what would I be, I don't know, 54, 55-year-old guy, I don't know. And I'm really lucky because it made such a difference.
And actually, if we could rewind for a second back to the fact that, this all happened for you during the pandemic. And I think a lot of people went through this sort of thing during the pandemic, because I know certainly for me, as someone who's already sort of becoming established in the autistic community, what the pandemic did for me was make connections, because suddenly we all went online and I was interacting with loads more autistic people. We were coming together, we were doing group things. Academy formed and took off like a rocket.
Yeah.
And then we made so many connections during that time. It was a really dark time, but so many wonderful connections happened because of us all going. And I wonder just how many autistic people found out they were autistic because of that time, because it was a real sort of renaissance for the autistic community, in my opinion.
I mean, I also say my career changed because nobody knew about Zoom and Teams and Google Meets and so on. That transformed. I mean, we've never met physically, have we?
No.
Never met
We've
physically.
tried to a few times.
Yeah, but we could go on here till midnight really easily, and we've never met physically. But my God, when we do, with your permission, I'll give you a massive Tigger bear hug. But the way that the community grew here, the fact that so many autistic individuals were able to go online and educate each other, like sort of academy formed and so on. And it was, I bet, it'd be interesting to see about a lot of people there. Could there be a book? Could there be a book in this? You and I could edit. I know you've done your wonderful books already about how many people suddenly during the pandemic stopped and paused and went, hang on a minute, and just went ding, as that young person just said, ding. And you go, oh, I'm autistic, I'm neurodivergent. And everything falls into place. But it is it's still a journey. It's still a journey. It's still fascinating. I'm so glad I'm on it. But it's still a long journey when you're I think it must be a long journey no matter what age you are. I don't want to be ageist for me or against anybody, but it is still a long journey because the minute I leave that door of the best place ever for me, then you're out in a world that really doesn't want you to exist sometimes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's where you have to rely on yourself, your Neurokin, your toolkits, all that kind of stuff, to be able to withstand that barrage in some ways.
So, I mean, I can talk about, things that help me as a late diagnosed autistic person, but I'm very much of the opinion personally that the later you are in your diagnosis, the more disorienting it can be, because there's so much more of your life you have to kind of recontextualize. if you could give like 3 or 4 sort of tips for people to put in their toolbox who are on that later discovery journey, what would those tips be?
Um, First and foremost, embrace that you're not wrong. You are 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 not wrong. I said that a bit, haven't I? Embrace that you're not wrong. It's just our gorgeous brains, yeah? I think certainly neurokin is really important. Listening to fellow, well-known in some ways, very autistic individuals, academy, yourself, others that we know so well, yeah? Authentic, because you know yourself. You go on Google, there is so much rubbish out there. It's making sure you get authentic voices and listen and learn. I can remember listening to all the podcasts and stuff that Academy had done, and then we chat and stuff and learn. So learning from your community, my neurokin has been extremely important to me. And then I think this is the hardest. I think the hardest is that ability to look in the mirror and unmask, and that is still a journey I'm on. Yeah, that's really hard. So that bit to look in the mirror, because I can still remember the first person the first entity I started to unmask with was Mrs. Pebbles, because I kind of loved Mrs. Pebbles. Yeah, the Whippet, the awesome Whippet, my dog, my partner's dog, and she would just be, she'd just come and stay with me, and I would tentatively just peep out and stim and do stuff, and she just want to love me and be hugged, yeah, and be loved back, yeah. And then I kind of took that strength, but I can remember to the day, one day standing in front of the mirror and nobody else in the house. Mrs. Pebbles wasn't there, just me on my own, lived in a flat. I looked in the mirror and I went, Tigger, I don't know who you are. I don't know if you're masking or not. And that, I think, was the first ever, that was the start of my masking journey, which is going to go on for a while. Let's be honest here, yeah.
And I think, in particular, with the unmasking journey, it's a journey we're always on because, when we think about how we present ourselves to the world, it's always at that projection of acceptability, isn't it? So we perhaps exchange masks for different situations, so
Yeah.
we even have masks for when we're interacting with other autistic people. There are always aspects of ourselves we keep back and aspects we put forward, and it's accepting that we are never going to put everyone's, because it's not sustainable.
The energy, the energy is huge. And I think, did I do 4 points? I can't remember. Neurokin, authentic autistic voices. Listen to people that know, that travel the journey before you, which is like what Tanya said about what she said. You say baby Autie. I'm taking that. I like that. I absolutely like that. Yeah.
Yeah. We've started Tanya off. She's in the comments with this now. I'm masking, you say, with sideways eyes. Tanya's got a whole thing on unmasking.
I know. I've read a lot. I've got Kieran's book and I've yet to read it and stuff like that and so on. It's I think partially what I consider autistic masking to be, and this is Tigger, is becoming comfortable with me.
Yeah.
Becoming comfortable with, if I want to bite this, I'll bite it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If that makes me feel great, makes me feel happy, sensory reason, stim reason, whatever, then it's that I've started to embrace more with me. I've now started wearing like some infinity symbols when I go out and that, because I'm proud that I'm neurodivergent, or rather, I want to be. For me, at this moment in time on my journey, I want to be able to say to people, I'm neurodivergent, and enter into a dialogue. I'm autistic. Are you? Yeah, I am. And as so many people said, that first bit of your journey, there are people that go, you're not. Do you know what I mean? And you go, what? Because I have eye contact. I've got an amazing sense of humor. Someone would debate that. Because I've got eye contact. I get on with people. I tell jokes. All the rest of it, and that's it. I'm not autistic. Yeah. And I've only had that a couple of times, I have to say. But one of the times I had it, I think I went to bed for 2 days. It utterly destroys me.
It makes me think, actually, there is one way of making the entire autistic community roll its eyes, and that's when someone goes that they're autistic, for someone to go, yeah, but you're high functioning, aren't you?
Oh, no, don't do it to me. Don't do it. I've had that. Don't do it to me. Are you a high functioning autistic person then? And you're like, can I just unpick that? Is that all right? Um, and I don't, and I'm. This is me again. So for me, the process of masking, I'll be learning for decades. Okay, and there are greats, Tanya's, yourself, and others out there that I learn from. And I go, right. Okay, so is it is it unmasking, or is it the fact that I want to be comfortable as autistic Tigger, whatever term that is? Yeah, and that's what I look for is the moments of time I'm my best, which is usually with a dog, or I'm outdoors, or here. Is that's what I want to be with my neurokin, without a doubt. You know, I want to be comfortable as as Tigger.
Mm.
Do I have to have a label? Do you know what I mean? I just want to be
Yeah,
comfortable as Tigger. I'm proud. I want to be proudly comfortable as autistic Tigger,
yeah,
as a virgin Tigger, and it's that I'm trying to strive for in most environments, because I know that when I can't be comfortable as autistic Tigger, it still bites, and it still takes away a lot of my energy, and it still affects my mental health a lot. So there's these struggles going on daily, I think, for myself and almost every other neurodivergent individual I know.
and I think this is the thing. It is the hardest thing, but you have to learn to love the person in the mirror because the world's going to carry on judging. It's what the world does.
Mm.
You have to learn to look in the mirror and think, "Do you know what? I'm proud of that person. I'm proud of that person. I'm proud of these people. I'm proud of I'm proud of what." So many autistic people don't get that opportunity,
Mm.
and it's just we owe it to other autistic people to show them that you can come into this discovery at any point in your life and it change you for the better. It doesn't have to be this tragedy that society has made it out to be.
It doesn't, and I think again, and managing my environment. That's what I'm really good at, managing my environment, and I tried, like we all do, to help other people manage theirs as well. That's what I love doing. Yeah, I manage my environment, be it something portable, or something permanent. Yeah, to manage my environment, to keep me as a safe autistic Tigger, because that's what I do. And now I think, there was an autistic individual I see in America, and I think they went out with a placard and said, "I'm autistic, come and talk to me." And I thought, I'm now in a position, because I've learned from others, but I'm still learning forever, where I want to have those conversations with people, where they either, "Oh, are you high function then?" Well, actually, that bit is that. Hey, have you got mild autism then? No, I've got spicy autism. It's even better, yeah. That kind of stuff. Yeah. So have you? Oh, yeah. Um, but I kind of love those conversations. But it's been authentic to myself, but also to my neuro kid, and it's that I strive. Don't always get there, but I try and do, but I'll be learning forever. And to me, that's the joy of it. I will be learning forever. But I mean, there's somebody put about so much to unpack. Yeah, the older you are, the more you have to unpack, I think. Yeah, it is, and and this is what gets to me the most. Sometimes I do sit here with a glass of bourbon. I like the bourbon and coffee, even together, they're brilliant. And I go back, and I sometimes unpick 5+ decades of my life and go, "Oh, no, I know why. No, I know why. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, now I know why." And I've spoken to lots of friends that have known for decades, and they go, "Yeah, we know why now." Or, "We knew at the time, didn't you?" But I think that working out my identity now and my future identity, if that makes sense,
Yeah,
as a person, as an autistic person, I'm working on my future identity as autistic Tigger, acknowledging the fact that, I've some people said it. I know, wise words, Tanya. Lush stuff. Um, it's the fact that that there are times when I look back and I'm just burning by looking back, or I am doing that bit that I know a lot of other people do, which is, why couldn't I have known this when I was 20? Because then
mm,
this will then happen, and this will happen, and this will happen. But then a great friend said to me, words of wisdom for once. He's an intelligent fellow. It was just really amazing what he said. He said, "Are you happy where you are now?" And I went, "Well, yeah, I think so." He said, "You really happy where you are?" Oh, yeah. And he went, "You're happy with who you are as autistic too?" And I went, "Well, I'm getting there. Yeah, yeah." And he went, "Great. So everything else has led to that. So shut up." I think I was having a kind of a moan, yeah. And I went, and he's neurotypical. And I went, and he pondered off, and I went, actually, that's really cool for me because, in a sense, that journey of that breakthrough 3 or 4 years ago, that journey has enabled me to be who I am now, and therefore maybe with older, individuals that are finding their path or finding them autistic, there's an element of, yeah, I can get that because that's the journey I've been on as well.
Absolutely. And I like to think that, this is a community that can welcome everyone. I think about like my mum, she won't mind me saying this, she just turned 65 and it's only in the last sort of year that she's really come to terms with the fact that she is also autistic. And she's been through all the world to go for a diagnosis. Is there any point even embracing this? Like I don't, use social media to connect with the community. And I like to think that actually, because my mum will find her way to the community. So watch out. There's another Grey Hammond about.
There's another great Hammond coming.
Yeah, my mum does find the community. I like to think it's a place that will be kind to her and, not put that pressure on her.
I mean, my friend David, hi David, from down in my neck of the woods in Cornwall, awesome young man as well. I think that as with any community, there are complexities of interactions and so forth. Yeah. But again, I go back to what we said earlier on. Without a shadow of a doubt, my identity, my autistic self, my mental health, my self worth was all saved by my neurokin, and is still saved by my neurokin. And whether save's the right word, I don't know. But at the end of the day, I'm a much better autistic Tigger because of my neurokin than I would be without. And it's that I'm so fortunate to have.
Yeah.
There's the likes of you, Tanya, as all the other people I know, Chloe and others with Academy, etc. I've just with 4 other people, one of whom was David, formed an autistic community of Cornwall to help our neurokin down here because there was nothing down here, so we decided to change it. There's an utter. I mean, when we first went live on here, not live, but when we first logged on camera, if you don't mind me saying so, you were like a Cheshire cat, and I was just jumping up and down in the chair because it's been ages. Yeah, it's like, oh guys, it's really good. And it was like, and we made that joke about we must stop talking at midnight. Yeah, we must. Yeah, and I know. And it's just, and there's a delight, there's a safety, there's the fact that I don't have to have all that paraphernalia going on. Do you know what I mean? If I suddenly went, I can't do this now, you'd be fine. Do you know what I mean? You'd be awesome, you'd be lush, you'd be inclusive, you'd be gorgeous. And that's what I need my neurokin for, is that level of understanding is just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree with you. And yeah. I've actually run out of questions, to be honest. You've done such a good job of explaining all this.
Some questions in the chat would be great. Go for it. So let's think about.
Let's see if we've got any questions in the chat, or if you've got questions, throw them in the chat quickly, and we'll answer them because we do love doing that. Remember that all of these episodes can be found after the fact on various podcast platforms and YouTube, and I don't delete them from Facebook, so they'll be there in perpetuity. And I'll pretend that's because I'm very accessible, but I'd be lying if I said it wasn't in part because I don't have the organization skills to delete old things. Plus, social media is where you keep everything now. So yeah, if anyone's got any questions, please do ask away and we'll answer them, and hopefully that will be beneficial for the people listening after the fact as well. So
before some come in, I'll expand on some stuff if I may, because I thought there's things I'd like to get across, and I think one of the things I'd like to get across is that aspect of grief. How do you change post discovery?
Yeah, so Tanya asks, how did you change post discovery?
I just feel more me. I just feel more authentic. I just feel more, I don't know what words would you use, rounded and safe. And I have a purpose, and I feel so much better than I've felt for decades, which is incredible. But But how did I change? I have tried to embrace learning from greats, and I look at you, Tanya and Chloe, and my other friends out there, and David, Marie, and others, and I look at greats I'm surrounded by, and I learn, and I'm still learning, and it's also the realization of what I need as autistic Tigger. So I think one of the biggest changes for me was that I think there are obviously socially acceptable routines and stims that I do. Yeah, as we all do, because we don't get looked at so much. So tapping your fingers is okay, tapping a pen is okay, whatever you want to use is okay. And I thought, no, remember it was blue tack for ages. I've had just very quickly, mini tangent. I've had problems with blue tack, and the problems are I love it, but I was on a train once and I put some headphones on, played with blue tack, forgot about it, got up and realized it embedded itself in my jeans and the seat of the train. Yeah. Then in my other studio, I was playing with blue tack there, stimming, smelling, whatnot, doing some teaching. I think dropped it on the floor, carried on moving on my chair, and literally had to steam clean the carpet for a month to get the blue tack out of there. So I've gone from blue tack, which I still love. It is the best thing ever, to squeezies and other things. Yeah. And so one of the things that I've realized I've changed post discovery is that if I'm in a bus and I'm doing this, I'm in a bus and I'm doing this. And I am more comfortable doing this. So whereas on a bus I would have had raised anxiety, sensory overload, the smells, the sound, I now go on a bus with my toolkit, and the toolkit is definitely my loops or Bose headphones or the Samsung ones I've got. The loops I found stupidly only several months ago, and I love them. For me personally, they're great. So I put loops in. So the other day I went to London, and I was surrounded by what I call autistic Tigger's absolute joy. I had my Albus oil. I had my own little personal coffee machine. I had my Bose noise reduction headphones. I had loads of things I'd seen before, but videoed on my phone, programs and episodes. And I was sitting there watching and doing this. And I was in heaven. And that's, I think, one of the biggest changes is I believe, I am more, some might say, visibly autistic. So I choose to be more respectful and more open about who I am as an neurodivergent. What, autistic and in your face? I don't know what term you want to use. Yeah, we've got to think of a better term than that, Tigger. Yeah, come on, Dave, help me. And it is that bit about if I want to stim, I'm going to stim. If I'm going to say that's too loud, so I've started to be more, with my culture, with my pride as an autistic individual, standing up for my rights and the rights of my neuroking, which is that's really loud. Actually, I can't do this. I attended a training session the other day, and I went, I'm really sorry, I can't do any more. Your expectation level of 6 hours on Zoom is way too much. I'm neurodivergent. I'm going through an overload. I'm going to turn this off now. Go and lie down and put a flannel on my head because I can't take any more. And I'm doing this for a self-care viewpoint because I'm autistic. And they went, okay, fine. And I just left the course. I would never have done that years ago. I would have suffered the agony. Yeah. So I think the biggest change for me is I've become. Is that an okay term, autistic and in your face? But I'm a
I
bit.
think that's
bit
fine. Yeah.
yeah. This is who I am. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this on public transport, on a bus, on a train, or in a coffee shop. And I'm going to be in heaven. I'm going to smell the coffee for ages. So somebody did say to me, "You're becoming more autistic." And I thought that was quite a sweet one. I went, okay, well, unpick that a bit. But in a sense, am I not? In a public eye, I'm so much more comfortable with being me, and I don't care about. And if you screenshot this and you put it out on YouTube or Restream will have me going biting on that, it's terrible. But I do. I was in a coffee shop the other day and somebody went behind a motorbike and I just went, it really got to me, and I just think I'm going to do it. Otherwise, it's agony because of the sudden noise of the motorbike. So this is my defense mechanism. Yeah. So Tanya, last question. I mean, yeah, I just want to be me. I just want to be me, and I don't care if people stare. Now I'm at that point where I don't care. I will gladly talk. I will gladly explain. I will gladly say, hey, yeah, it is. It is. I think it is really good there, Tanya, and that's. And I think that
So Tanya says that I find it's a big part of discovery, leaning into it and then coming back to center. I think it's part of learning via retrospection. And yeah, absolutely.
Lush, very much so.
We have an off-topic question, but I'm going to answer it because I think it's important. So we're being asked when the podcast we do together is coming back, and when is Lord of the Rings Part 3. So for anyone who doesn't know, we have alluded to this. Tigger and I previously have been doing a podcast for Academy. You can find it. It's called Academy Especially Interesting. And we invite autistic people onto info-dash interest. We've had all sorts of awesome episodes. We've done 2 Lord of the Rings episodes. We had one about the forensic psychologist picked apart the psychology of the Resident Evil series.
Titanic?
Yeah, we had someone come on whose great-grandfather, I think, or was it great-great-grandfather, was the last helmsman at the wheel when Titanic struck the iceberg. So we did that. That was fantastic. We've had some awesome episodes, and it is coming back. It is coming back, and I think we're hoping to get the wheels in motion around about September time.
Yeah,
I think we
talk about that.
We think. So keep your eyes open for that one, and we might even start doing it more in this sort of format as well. So that it's all nicely branded, and we can do vodcast as well as podcast. And there will definitely be a Lord of the Rings Part 3 because cover the entire Lord of the Rings in 2 podcast episodes, and it is. I'm committed now. I'm going to cover the entirety of the Lord of the Rings. So
Silmarillion, Lost Tales, Tom Bombadil. Yeah, we'll be going there. We'll be going there.
So especially interesting is coming back. Tigger and I will be co-hosting it, and it's going to be awesome. So keep watching. Another question back on topic. What's one piece of advice Ha Rossi says? I think that's Ha Rossi says, what's one piece of advice you'd give to others on their journey / being given by someone else that you found really helpful / a piece of advice you remind yourself often?
I'm trying to think. I mean, I was so lucky to find Academy to begin with. Really lucky. And to get involved in stuff and to listen to people. And I come back to it again. I think the one positive I've given to others in the journey, being given by somebody else, and it is neurokin. Find your neurokin, listen to your neurokin, learn from your neurokin. There are some great professionals out there that are neurodivergent and awesome. Also, some great professionals out there that are neurotypical and awesome. But at the end of the day, I shared a post from I can never say his name properly. Chris, Autistic Not Weird, yeah, Mr. Rubik Cube person I know as in my head, yeah. And it was about if you want to learn how to build a house, you get a builder. If you want to learn how to swim, you get somebody who's a swimming teacher. If you want to learn about what it means to be autistic, get somebody who's autistic. And I think that to me is just like boom, yeah. And I think that's it for me. The first bit of advice I was given was find your neurokin, listen to neurokin. And that I keep giving to people. So I'm the career I've got, I consult, I work with families, I work with children in safe settings and so on. And as soon as I come on the journey when it's safe, I get people to meet the neurokin, be it county based or introduce them to others across the globe and so on and so forth. Because that to me is it's just been instrumental in making me safe, and also the misinformation, the grotesque misinformation that's out there, even from national bodies, from people you think would be there to help. Their history is poor training and medical model and so on and so forth. Find your neurokin. I keep going back to it. Find and listen to your neurokin. That in itself can be difficult. You're going to make sure they're safe, they're awesome, they're well known. It goes on and on. There's all this criteria that's out there for making sure if you find somebody and listen to them, they're good. Obviously, keep yourself safe wherever you do. Fine, but at the end of the day, find your neurokin and listen. It's made such a difference to my life and my soul, and my awesome autistic self.
That's a good one. Like neurokin, I wouldn't be here without my neurokin, without my fellow autistic people, my fellow ADHDers. I just wouldn't be here. Like they have done so much for me. And I wanted to show you this comment, Tigger. Nice. The message throughout this will be beneficial to people that are just starting their journey. That's from NT in an NT world. And I think that is true. This has been a really good episode for this. So we've got another question from David, and it says it's often been in past hard to find other as they are often masking so hard. But since the pandemic, I think we have all unmasked a little as we spent time in isolation being more ourselves. And it's cut off the end of that. So hang on. Being more ourselves. Do you both feel our neurokin are now more visible?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's Zoom, it's Teams, it's Google Meet, whichever one you use. I lost family during the pandemic, so I know how grotesque the pandemic was. Yeah. A very young person, and you just think, but now, both you and I and others that we know, our reach is we speak to people globally. We never used to do that before, which is heaven. And I think it also it was you try and look for what's the term, silver linings, because that's why I say I lost people during the pandemic. I know how painful it was, but at the end of the day, I think our community, our tribe, our neurokin we formed as who we are during the pandemic, and we changed. We became social and visible, and an element of pride, an autistic pride came along, which I don't think was there, but wasn't there before at this level. It's all because we can do this now. Our aspect of communication changed. I'm in my safest of environments. You are, and there's no traveling, there's no raising anxieties. We get to A to B to meet you. That's changed, and with it, society's changed a little bit, and media's changed a very small amount. And and it's kind of going on out there. But I do think that I've got to ask, where was the first time you heard the word neurokin?
I can't pinpoint it exactly, but you were probably one of the first people I heard use the word.
I've got to say, and I can't remember her name. Is it Rowena? It was on an Academy podcast or an Academy Live, yeah. And she wrote neurokin, and I think I said I'm nicking that, but I'll always say it's you. Is that right? And she went, yeah. And that's the first time. So if anybody out there knows where neurokin comes from, Kirsty Forbes, cool. For me, it was right on early in the pandemic when we were doing some Academy Lives, and somebody said neurokin. And I went, oh my god, I love that. And yeah, and I thought I'm nicking it. I did say I will always say it's yours. And I hope I've said the name properly. But that's the first time I remember hearing it, and I've used it ever since because it's just, to me, it's kin. It is. It's kin.
It is.
And I'm sorry, it's very Lord of the Rings-ish as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
but it is kind of very Lord of the Rings.
But it's funny you mentioned not traveling places. Ironically, I am actually traveling this Sunday, and I'm going to plug this because it's an awesome thing that I'm doing this Sunday. So this Sunday, the 30th of July, 2023, I will be at the youth club in Woolwich, speaking at an Autistic Pride event run by Autistic Inclusive Meets, and I will also be selling my books there.
Real?
So yeah, if you're in the London area, Sunday, 30th of July, head on down to Woolwich Youth Club, and it's 1 till 4 p.m. and I'll be there, doing my thing, talking a lot and selling books and generally being aggressively autistic.
And books, like I said, you've got a fan club in Cornwall. You've got a fan club across the world, actually. You've certainly got a fan club starting in Cornwall because your books are lush, yeah? And sharing just stuff like mad. I was just saying that I am so bad at geography. Tangent, my apologies. I'm so bad at geography that I said to my awesome daughter, I'm coming to, she lives in London. I went, I'm coming to London in a couple of weeks. I'm doing some teaching at so-and-so, and we'll be able to meet. She said, yeah, great. And then like 2 weeks ago, she goes, where are you going? I went, Bedford. And she went, that's not London. I went, is it? And she went, no, it's not. Oh, okay. So sometimes because we will meet, and we've got to sort this out. And I just hope Brighton is, or I think Brighton is. It is, as I've been there before. I've been my partner's an actor. I've been there with her there to do some stage work, so I know where it is. But do pop along to see David. Awesome.
Yeah, so
awesome.
On my website, emergentdivergence.com, there is an events page that details all the things I'm doing. So it's very helpful. Most of it is online because I actually don't like going places or doing things.
It's interesting. I went up to London this weekend to work for Seventh Adventist Church to do a talk.
Okay.
I've worked on and off for them for many years, and I will go anywhere. I've got this thing about I'll kind of talk to people. I'm not no, Seventh Adventist Church are great, but I also maybe work with some organisations that some wouldn't. I've got this thing about fighting from the inside, having the dialogue with people. Maybe some of us don't want to have a dialogue, yeah, and I try and do that where I can. But because of the rail strike, and I hate travelling across London, it really raises most of my major areas of anxiety. That I was like, I'm still shattered now, and I came back on like Sunday afternoon, yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking, wow, the overload and everything was incredible. There's another question there from Hannah. Hello, Hannah. And it was like, I think the pandemic made me realize life is too short to be anything but yourself. Yeah, and you know what? I think it did for me. I think it's. I mean, let's be honest here. I did that video. I had a cup of coffee, and then I think it was when we were doing you could do your 10,000 steps. And I very luckily lived in the middle of Cornwall, where we could very easily get to fields. And I was in the country. I know people like my beautiful daughter who were trapped in halls of residence at university at the time, and so on. Yeah, and I remember going out for a walk with one of the dogs there, and just then reformulating what had gone through my head. And thinking to myself, and realizing it and boxing it, and then the grief bit about, well, who am I then, and all the rest of it, and so on. But I also remember that whack of kind of like it was euphoria mixed with fear because I didn't know where to go next. That's the other thing that our neurokin gives us. I didn't know where to go next. If I'd gone down the traditional route, which so many people go, the next step for me would have battered my mental health and self worth. Do you see what I mean? That's why neurokin is so important. And I think that yeah, I think it's Teams, Zoom, you folks, loads of others. I am so lucky I found my neurokin. If I'd gone down the traditional route, I would have been in really serious trouble. There would have been professionals out there trying to fix me and trying to make me fit in and help me with my high functioning autism. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, which would have been devastating for my soul. Absolutely devastating for my soul and my identity. Um, and I think I actually like traveling, but only with my toolkits. I missed them several months ago when I went to an event, and I just had quite a major shutdown in a hotel because I forgot to take my Albasaur and my noise reduction headphones and some tools to stim with because I just had what I call an ADHD moment because I'm exploring that, and I just thought I must take one bag, not two, must take one bag, not two, and then didn't pack everything properly, just legged it out the door to get a taxi. But traveling, I do like, and meeting people I love. I love meeting people. We all see each other. Traveling down to Cornwall this weekend to say hello. I'm very lucky I live in Cornwall, but from a travel viewpoint, it's a long way away from everywhere else. Yeah. Anthony. It's. I think I've listened to so many people of different ages, and they've always gone, I always knew I was different. I always knew I was different. I always knew I was strange. Not a good one. And people have always pointed at me and said so and so and so and so. That to me is a common thread. I've always known I was different. That's a common thread from so many people I've spoken to. That certainly was for me. But it's that it's going back to that neurokin a bit. I'm trying to. I'm not. I don't want to diss professional services out there at all. This is getting really bad. But it's the minute you access something and they say you've got to fit in, you've got to change. That's the minute they're not. They're not the service you think they are. Find your neurokin, and you'll find people who'll tell you about stimming, and you need a love of routines and so on, so forth. Yeah, it is. I mean, it is. That's the joy of living in Cornwall is it is hours away from anywhere else. Folks, get in touch. Find me online. Get in touch. It'd be brilliant. We've got a community down here. It'd be great to network with other individuals across the globe. So I think that finding neurokin we discussed. I think, and I cannot again once more just say it's been so important to me for my autistic health, self worth, to find that neurokin, to find that tribe. And I think I'll message her and say, where did you hear it from? And if she says she's invented it, I'm going to say this is Rowena. Rowena invented it, yeah, which would be cool. And the other thing I dislike intensely is when you go on Dr. Google, whatever you want to call it, Google, is the intense, grotesque stuff that's out there for you as a neurodivergent individual that will tell you the most horriblest of things. You've got to fit in. You've got to be normal. You can't be yourself. All the rest of it, and you're wrong. You're evil. You shouldn't exist, and all that horrible, grotesque stuff. We exist, and we're here to stay, and then some. Yeah.
I'm
And
working on this though, because what I've been doing is learning search engine optimization, and some of my articles now appear at the top of Google searches.
I mean, there's a group. We all share this stuff like mad, and others too. And Tanya, you are right. And this is the bit I love. So I think baby or two I'm going to nick, and I'll credit to you. Don't worry. But you're right. I have autistic elders, and David's one of them. You're one of them. Kieran's one of them. Chloe, I've learned from, and others. Yeah, my friends down here. I sometimes when I'll go on something, and I'll go on the oldest. I'm the oldest autistic in the room. Hi there. Yeah, because of being almost 60. The Zimmer frame's just outside the door. But you're right. I have found that's the other thing. No matter what age you are, you need to find autistic elders, and those autistic elders can be. Are you half my age, David?
I am 33.
Okay. So yeah, or not quite, but almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're all well. Give 4 or 5 years here. You're almost half my age, but you're still, I consider, in my world, an autistic elder I learned from. And I think
I'm old enough that I had to pause for a second there to work out how old I was.
that's good. That's good. But you're right. I mean, and I like that. And again, Tanya, I'm going to nick that and the baby one, if that's all right. I'll certainly copyright it to you. Autistic elders, no matter what age they are. And you can be, I am, I was 54, 55 when I went, whoa. And I think I've said on some podcasts before with you, some lives with you before, I feel really young as an autistic entity because I am really young as an autistic entity. I'm a 58-year-old, Tigger on the planet, but as becoming my true autistic self, wow, I'm really, really young. Yeah, really young.
Yeah, Tanya's just called me out in the comments. It's
know.
not because I'm old that I had to work out my own age. It's the ADHD. Yeah, I'm called out. Yeah, I feel seen, but I've been called out. But yeah, no, it's been a really good episode. It's about time to wrap up, but I wanted to end on a couple of bits, short ones. So my top tip for what I'm working on right now that I think everyone needs to work on, probably from much earlier in their discovery journey than I did, rejection sensitive dysphoria, because so often, even if someone is very pleasantly saying to me, or have you tried looking from this perspective? And goes, you are being rejected. And it's just overwhelming. So I'm doing a lot in myself because I think it's a really common trauma response for autistic people.
It
is to feel rejected really easily because we have been rejected so much.
Oh,
and I wondered if you had anything that you're working on right now that you think is really important to people who might be at the beginning of their journey.
The RSD, yeah, you two get together, do an article, desperately so. I mean, I think to a certain extent, I've tried to keep this positive in terms of what we put across this evening. There are parts of the journey that are dark, and that's one of them. Yep. I think I said quickly that somebody disagreed with me or somebody called me out as not being a professional because I was autistic. That's one of them as well. And I just dived. I just went completely. And that's why my toolkits are important to me. My neurokit are important to me because I use them as educate me as buffers towards that. What I'm working on at the moment is toolkits. What I'm working on at the moment is with myself. I've been doing it for years with me. Would you believe the thing I'm working on at the moment is two things. One's toolkits. I call them Tigger's toolkits, but they're not. Some people might call them spoons, whatever. It's finding out what you need before you leave that door. What you need to help you, and I'm doing that on some of the platforms. I've been doing it for myself. I'm doing that for years now with consultations with families and environments and so on. The other thing I'm working on is and this came out again is I said why. Ben. Yeah, autisticality. Yeah, Ben, right? Who I kind of like as well. Good Marvel fan, which is good to be said as well. He did an autistic profile page. And that came out, I don't know, a couple of years ago, just as a document, yeah. And about that time, I started saying to parents I was working with and children, why do you just have a document that comes from a professional who is on the whole neurotypical, and they interpret via the DSM, ADOS, whatever it is, yeah, who you are as an autistic person. What about if you're able to do it, yeah, your autistic profile? So I actually downloaded Ben's and did my autistic profile. And I keep going back to it as I learn more. So I doubt. So Ben, shout out Autistic, great website, really great website. I downloaded his autistic profile. I found some others since and so on. Like with Framing Autism, we've got a nice one that's children based, but it's really cool. And I say to people, do your own autistic profile. If you're there, if you have that strength, because it is quite an interesting one. Look at what you like, what you don't like, your stims, your routines, and so on and so forth. Because why should? And again, I self-identify. I work with a great clinician who works for the NHS, who's awesomely autistic, who's gone, yeah. And but I think why just rely on those bits of paper we get from a group of professionals? Why can't we take control and charge PDA heaven? And I'm gonna do my own autistic profile. Thank you. And then I've involved others in it. And I've done that an awful lot with families of late and individuals and gone, why don't we just write it? Forget, okay, it's important what you got as a document, but let's look at what we know now on our journey as autistic individuals and start writing our own autistic profile. And I think that's helped me. That's helped me a lot. And that's the main thing I'm doing with almost everybody I interact with at the moment is get your toolkit sorted. I want to help with that. You can do that. You're a kin, but also that bit about, why don't you just put that piece of paper aside, write your own. And that to me, I found quite transformational for lots of individuals. It certainly was for me. It was brilliant.
Well, thank you. That's a really good suggestion. I might actually do that myself because I've just realised I've never done anything like that. But I have to ask, you do realise you're not a baby Autie anymore, right?
Listen. I've read some stuff that you've done, and Tanya, if I may. So, David down in Cornwall was doing some stuff at the moment. I'm like, wow, that's really good. Yeah. I'll thank you. I'll leave that one there because I'm just sitting here going, whoa, I'm not right. I am still. I the stuff that I see out there with other parts of the my new incredibly gorgeous. I know you don't see me comment much on our little chats and areas and so on. I read it and I take it in.
But you are out there trailblazing. People need to check out. You've got the page Bridging the Neurodivide, haven't you?
Thank you. I have. I've got a little resource area there that needs a revamp. So I did. I got hyper focused one week and built like 80 pages of resources. You're there, Tanya's there, others are there, Academy's there, big time. Because then I could say to people, look, there's loads of people there. Go and look at my resource area, and so if the biggest thing I do is I share what other people do because I'm too lazy to write it myself. There you go, yeah. But why reinvent the wheel, as the saying goes? The stuff you do and others do is incredible. So I try. I've got the website and I've got a Facebook page as well. And now I'm doing it on LinkedIn. I'm sharing people's stuff, but I'm making sure they know it's coming from you, that it's coming from Academy or Tanya or Ben and so on and so forth. Lush, thank you. And that's what I do. And I will say, I don't know if you know BAPS at all. Yeah, Bloody Awesome Parents Awards. I got one, which was really great, and I got it for doing that and that. Do you know what? 2 hours before that, I was having a shutdown. I'd gone on a journey to Leicester. I'd forgotten to take my stuff, and I fell to pieces in the hotel room. And I said, I can't go out. And because my partner knew what my toolkits were, in her kind of evening gown thing, she went out and got them for me. If it wasn't for that, I would never have attended the ceremony. I would never have got that award, which came out of nowhere. But it's up there, sorry, on the wall. That award was for doing what I do, which is sharing your stuff and Tanya's stuff and Kieran's stuff and Academy and other people's, because it's fantastic. And the more people that can access your work, the more they're going to learn, the more they're going to grow, the more they're going to stand about their new kin and our gorgeous autistic community. And that to me is really, really, really important.
But this is the thing, and I don't think people realize this, for those of us who are creating content, creating knowledge, writing things, we can only be as effective as we are when people like you are curating our material and sharing it onwards. Because if we created it and no one shared it, no one would ever see it.
There's so much rubbish out there. The clarity of thought, the clarity of idea that you and the others that we've mentioned already, have is so important. There is so much naff stuff out there. I hate, I found this on Google. I'll go, right, yeah, well, just dump that. Have a look at this guy. Have a look at this person. They're really good. Have a look at this website. It's really good, yeah? Because people will go on this journey as, realizing later on in life, they might be autistic. They go on Google and they're going to get some naff stuff. And then the pain starts. And you and I and others have got to stop that. So that's why, because that's my thing. I'll just share for hours. I love doing it. Yeah, I haven't got the intellect to write it. I love it when I see people that have. And the stuff that you Tanya in here, David, have some stuff this afternoon is fab. So I'll share it all over the place. Academy and others like mad because you've got to. And you're right. So others out there, if you have any platform where you can share stuff with all the individuals that we've spoken about tonight, share. We've got to fight against that misinformation that's out there because that misinformation is seriously harming people and families and professionals, and we've got to stop that. We've got to change that narrative out there.
Well, Tigger, thank you. You are literally one of my favorite people in the world, and it's been awesome doing a podcast with you again. And we're going to get especially interesting going again. So watch out. We're going to be back with all the info dumps and awesome AU.
and also Lush as well.
And Lush, yeah. And because, it's good times between Academy co-hosts, what is your favorite stim?
Oh, do you know what? I'm going to do this, I think. And this is my favorite stim is this. My tongue. And to me, it's also, somebody said to me, "Do you know you look really ugly when we do that?" I go, "No, but I love it." So it's two, if I may. So it's this, right? I love bite, and I love doing it. Look at how I look facially, but oh my god, it's such a good thing to do. And I love the taste, the bite, the feedback you get, and so on. But I have to say, the other thing I do a lot of, and it's this, and it's here you go. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
I like trying out walls, windows, metal things, tables, cups. I like going, and depending on how I do it, will also tell you whether I'm happy or not happy. Yeah, those two I love. But this one, because I'm authentically, well, I'm beginning to be Tigger, awesome autistic Tigger. I was on the bus the other day, and I was going to see my daughter, and I thought I'm really excited, and I stopped and I thought, oh wow, I've just been doing my favourite stim on the bus, and nobody looked. Because come on, let's face it, it's not, but I love it. There's lots of these and others, and this, but that one I love, and the tap I adore as well. So I haven't heard that for ages.
Well, thank you so
young man.
much, Tigger. This has been a fantastic episode.
Thank
Next
you for the
week,
comments as well.
yes, the comments have been brilliant. Next week, we have, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, it's Tanya Adkin and Rachel Gavin from ND Social Care and Family Services. They will be coming on and we'll be talking about social care and autistic people or neurodivergent people in general and social care. It's going to be a really good episode. Some people might be aware that I do co-author a series with Tanya Adkin called Creating Autistic Suffering, where we get into a lot of this stuff actually about social care and the various are messed up for autistic people. Basically, I'm really proud of it as a series. Actually, it's on my website. It gets thousands and thousands of views and shares. So it obviously resonates with people. So I really recommend people tune in to the episode next week. It should be a really good one. And I think I've also got one booked in to talk about substance use with Jacek Wade of Queer Cult. So that should be a really good one as well, because as people who followed me since the beginning will know, the whole reason I got into this kind of stuff is because I wanted to help autistic substance users, because I myself am 7 years sober from addiction. So, some good stuff on the horizon. And like I said, if you're in London on Sunday between 1 and 4, come to the youth club in Woolwich and come say hi to me. So, thank you, Tigger. It's been fantastic. This has been David's Divergent Discussions. I've been your host, David Gray Hammond. I've been here with the wonderful Tigger Pritchard. I said it right that time. And
it's been absolutely lush. Watch out for Especially Interesting. We're coming back.
Yes, do watch out for it, and we'll catch future episodes. Take care, everyone.
Thank you all. Bye.